Hi, I'm Stephanie Dyer, and this is Escape Into a Cause, a podcast about the people and nonprofits shaping the Austin metro area. I am not an expert, but I get to sit down with the ones who are, and we talk about what it actually looks like to give back and strengthen the community we live in. This week, Courtney, Dickey, and I reflect on something that I've thought about recently. What would a world look like if charity wasn't necessary? No animal shelters because we all became responsible pet owners. No food pantries because neighbors made sure no one went hungry. No nonprofits for survivors of abuse because we worked harder to stop the abuse before it happened. That world isn't realistic, but thinking about it does raise the question, could we live in a world where we at least need less charity? Then I sit down with Johanna Hosking-Pulido, Executive Director of GirlForward. If supporting young women as leaders or standing alongside immigrants and refugees speaks to you, this is an episode you'll want to stick around for. GirlForward serves girls ages 14 to 21 who identify as refugees, immigrants, or asylum seekers, helping them thrive through mentoring, education, and community building programs. Johanna, or Jo, is sharp, she's grounded, and when you talk to her, you can't help but want to get behind the work. So join us as we wrestle the idea of a world with less charity, and then hear how GirlForward is investing in girls who will shape the future. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Courtney.
Hey, Stephanie.
We are escaping into GirlForward.
Yay.
Yay. Anything with girls and women.
I'm there.
You're in.
I'm
you don't
in.
even, you might not even know what GirlForward is.
Don't care. Girl in the title. I do know what GirlForward is, but
Good.
anything that's about the advancement of women, women's leadership, and women's equity, I'm there.
You're there. Okay. GirlForward is a community of support transforming the lives of refugee and immigrant girls in grades 9 through 12 through mentoring, tutoring, and safe spaces. GirlForward empowers young women displaced by conflict and persecution from around the globe, which is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about that ladder of tzedakah.
Yes.
It's a partnership. You're educating and
Absolutely.
you're mentoring and tutoring. That's the long-term partnership of charity that they believe is the best way to give.
Yes. Yeah.
Excited. Okay,
Awesome.
but first, we got a question for you.
Okay.
What do dating apps and nonprofits or charities have in common?
They both showcase a lot of things that need attention and money.
Well,
No.
that's one.
Tell me.
Their mission should both be to eliminate their service.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. You know
So
what made me
true.
think about that?
No.
Have you seen that? It's, what's the dating app that says the goal of the app is to end your service? What is
Yes.
that? Do you know what
I
that's
don't
called?
know. Is
We
it-
don't do dating apps.
We don't. We've been married a long time. But I have heard it. But of course, you know, like Bumble is now into friend matching.
Yeah, I like
I know,
that.
that's kind of lovely.
Yeah.
Because I do think different type of it is so hard to make friends as adults, which is why you should go out and volunteer and make friends that way.
Ding, ding, ding.
But yeah, I love that. The point is no one will ever be alone.
Yeah.
But there will always be need out there and there will always be loneliness. So
There will,
I
but
know.
to that point, right? Morgan Illica at Best Buddies, she was on this show and she said that the goal of Best Buddies, of course, was the goal of most nonprofits is to shut your nonprofit down.
That's such a good reminder.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I like this question of how should we design a world where charity isn't required in the first place? And we talked about this a little bit of like where you're investing your dollars. Is it immediate need
Right.
or is it systemic change
Yeah.
so that you can close down some of these charities? But of course, we're never going to be able to get rid of charities. It's just never going to happen.
But it's a lovely idea, a lovely thought that are we all progressing to a world where either the needs aren't there? So I'm thinking like those charities that are around medical assistance, healthcare, research, or it just happens naturally and organically. So something like Best Buddies, which is just about creating inclusive environments. They don't need it because that, of course, we would all be inclusive. Like, well, who needs a reminder about that? Or Amplify Austin, which is obviously run by I Live Here, I Give Here. We don't need that because, of course, everyone in Austin knows that they have to give back to their community to be good citizens of the world and of,
Yeah, who needs a day?
right? How silly, just a day. We're all giving monthly. So yeah, I kind of love that thought practice, right? That thought exercise.
I think it's going to be highly dependent on community. And unfortunately, we've been moving further and further away from that communal.
Such a great point.
And we're very individualistic. We talked about hyper-individualism in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happens, charities are built
Yeah.
to fill in the gap.
Yes. And the government's responsibility here. And obviously, we are currently living under an administration where funding has been completely depleted in terms of nonprofits and social services. And so the gaps are unfortunately widening.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate, but I do think there are some people out there that might agree with the administration in that they're like, no, I think charities should be doing this work. I don't think the government should.
Yeah.
And that's how some people feel. I just hope that those people that feel that way are actually giving to charity.
Such a great point.
So if that's your belief, I hope you are contributing.
That's right.
Of course, this goes into that Band-Aid versus the cure. If we want to shut down nonprofits, when I think about this, we talked about Maimonides' ladder of charity.
Yeah.
The tzedakah.
I'm going to be thinking about that for a while.
But the highest form of giving, again, goes to that partnership. And it also goes back to Peter Singer. We've talked about him in effective altruism and that what is the most impact. So I think this just goes back to systemic versus immediate need. That's how you really close down charities. But I think it goes above and beyond that. I think we need to start thinking about community. And when I think about all of the ways that communities have showed up. Did you see that Katrina documentary that just came out on Netflix? Katrina, Come Hell and High Water, and it just came out. Highly recommend. I recommended it to one of my friends, and she says she doesn't think she could go through it again. Like, she doesn't want to even watch it because it's heartbreaking. Yeah. But it's a great example of where community showed up for each other, not the government. Look at Kerr County floods.
Yes.
Community really showed up.
Yes, agreed. In those moments, and perhaps it's just natural, but government got criticized, and instead the community was at many times the first responders. I love this idea of defining community and what it should mean to everyone and what it means to be a part of a community from a recipient perspective and a contributor perspective. And by the way, I'm a recipient of the community from friendships and relationships and networking and education. And so I think everyone is receiving and giving. I think if everybody can commit to that sort of sense of community and belonging, I don't know.
And I wish that there didn't have to be large disasters to say, wow, our community can really come together.
Right.
And I need to get better. We should do this in our neighborhood where we have more of an annual or biannual thing where we get the neighborhood to put towards a drive or something or something where we can get together with neighbors and show up because that gives back and builds community. Yeah. So there's been a lot of opportunities where I've been thinking about that. So maybe we need to get on that this year.
I know.
Maybe around the holidays.
With a newsletter, learning our neighbors and like connecting with our neighbors. And I know.
Agreed.
It's so important.
So I love going on walks around our neighborhood is we spot the older neighbors are the best. They give you the whole story about the neighborhood.
Yeah, they do. They've been watching.
One of them knew Dick Rathgaber. I mean, Dick is like 92 and he knew, like he didn't know him super well, but he knew him and knew like the family and knew all his story. And I was like, oh yeah. Like,
that's community.
Y'all were in Austin when it was much smaller.
And they just knew each other.
Yeah.
And you're right. I do think that has been lost. And we've also talked about connection and how important that is. I think it goes hand in hand with community. And I think if we all prioritize that more, going back to the topic at hand, perhaps there would be less need for organizations that are dedicated to helping others because it would just happen naturally.
I think so. And I think, unfortunately, because of the political divide right now with even like how we're drawing lines for voting and gerrymandering. The problem is in areas like ours, the community has more. Yeah. And so then you need to make sure, am I extending my community to Austin? Yes. And pockets of Austin that I don't typically go to. So I think that's important. Anyway, I think next time anyone gives, maybe the question should be, are you treating a symptom? Or are you helping something long-term?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Court.
Thanks, Steph.
We'll be right back. Escape into a Cause is sponsored by Nightlight Insurance Agency. You know how a nightlight gives you comfort and peace of mind in the dark? That's exactly what Nightlight aims to do. Guide you through life's uncertainties with personalized insurance for your home, auto, business, and more. Nightlight Insurance strives to provide its clients the best coverage at the best price without sacrificing on customer service. Here's what one client had to say. Nightlight was able to lower our car insurance significantly, answered all our questions, and returned our calls promptly. Very professional, would highly recommend. So it's no surprise Nightlight has a 5-star rating on Google. Nightlight also makes this podcast possible by covering production costs so all other sponsorship dollars and gifts can go directly to nonprofits and volunteers. And as part of their mission to give back, Nightlight proudly donates $1,000 to every nonprofit we interview. If you are a sponsor interested in giving back to our podcast, please find us on social media and let us know. Nightlight is an agency focused on personalized service and giving back. See how much you could save and how good it feels to have peace of mind by visiting nightlightinsurance.com. We're escaping into Girl Forward, and I have Executive Director Johanna Hosking-Pulido. Hi, Joe. Yes. You go by Joe, right?
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me here.
Thank you for coming. And my topic that matters with Courtney Dickey, she was the president of the Junior League of Austin last year, and she chats about topics every episode. And when I said Girl Forward, she's like, yes. Love it. Yeah. Love Girl Forward. She's big on girls and women in leadership, and so am I. So I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Can we first dive into, you are from the mountains, and I'm not going to say it correctly, but from Mexico, you can tell me where?
Pachuca Hidalgo. Yes, that's home up in the mountains. So it's always nice and cool, even in the summer.
When did you move to the States?
I've been here for 18 years now. So it just feels like I'm halfway, but not quite.
Do you miss the mountains?
I do. I think mountains guide you. Here I felt lost for a little bit, even with little hills. But it's like, oh, mountains, directions,
you know? Are you going to go back to the mountains someday?
I will love to. The weather, you cannot beat that.
Okay. Do you recommend visiting there?
Oh, yes. There's a national forest called El Chico, very close. And there's a lot of activities that you could do there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put it on my radar.
1 hour north from Mexico City.
Oh, 1 hour?
North from Mexico City, so very close.
Beautiful. Well, let's get started. Tell us, what does Girl Forward do?
Girl Forward is a community for girls who have been globally displaced for conflict, persecution or war in their home countries. Our girls identify as refugee, immigrants, or asylum seekers. They are in high school, so 9th to 12th grade, and we walk along them and all the things that come with high school. So that is like school, finding their first job, friends, and honestly navigating a new country, a new culture. And we do that through 3 core programs: mentoring, education, which has a component of a summer camp, and then safe spaces. And every year we serve 200 girls. We are a national nonprofit, and we are in 2 different cities. So we're here in Austin, Texas, and we're also in Chicago, Illinois.
That's like the sister cities right now, right? Chicago and Austin for your program. And I'm sure coming from Mexico, do you feel like there's some relatability to these girls to a degree?
Yes, absolutely. It's a personal connection to me, right? I came as an adult, but I know that it's really hard as an immigrant Mexican woman, right? And even though I have a profession and a degree, it's really hard for people to open doors and possibilities for you when you don't have connections or network or experience or education in this country. I'm here because of other people who believe in me and who supported me and gave me a job and gave me opportunities. For me, it's very personal to open doors and windows to these girls that are so bright and so smart and all the things that they can bring into the cities that they are now being rooted. We do that very well because then we have these programs that help them feel successful. So it's very important to me.
Is that what brought you to Girl Forward? Can you tell me more about what lured you to this position and to this mission?
Yeah, so I've been doing youth development and education for over 20 years. I did that in Mexico. I was the director of international office there. So a lot of this international mindset of different cultures, intercultural communication, the possibility of what comes when we all show up, not in pieces, but as a whole, and how we are, as a community and as a world, we're more rich because of that. So I think that to me speaks in that way. And previously to Girl Forward, I was working at community school. I was working with youth and parents and 2 generation and into education. So I really think too that education is that space where it's a big equalizer, girls having access to education and post-secondary education and bringing their full self in those spaces. We are much better as a society because of that. And then they go, it's ripple effects. Their families, their communities are better because of that.
I wholeheartedly agree with that and understand that's what you can't measure in your impact report. Again, the girls that you're serving are grades 9 through 12, refugees, immigrants, and asylum seekers. Can you speak a little bit more to how that has evolved or changed?
Girl Forward was founded in Chicago in 2011, and then we expanded to Austin in 2014. So since the very initial genesis of our organization, there was at the center youth-led. So our founder was 22, and she was the mentor of a 16-year-old refugee girl. So together, they knew what they needed to thrive, and they created what then later became GirlForward. So I think it really changes in the way of where we see war or displacement or persecution happening in the world. That's where we see girls coming into the US, right? We have received girls from over 40 countries in the world in the last 12 years. And I think that kind of changes depending on what conflict is. Our core programs have not changed. So our mentor program, which I think is one of the best programs, matches girls with the women in that community. And they go through a 4W curriculum. And we call it Wallet, Wellness, World, and Wisdom. And they go through that just to learn about all these experiences that are in the day-to-day things with a mentor. And those relationships transform both of them. And I know that after their time with GirlForward, they're still going to baby showers and weddings and graduation from college. So those things that don't change really is that connection. We have seen a lot of things with that new administration happening. So federal funding has impacted our partners, has impacted our ability to refer girls to housing, health, support in that regard. We're trying as an organization to step in those spaces where there are vacancies left so we can bridge that to support the girls that have been left now in these programs that are now disappearing or gone. That is a challenge, and that is recently changing.
And under the current administration, that's both from a funding perspective, but also from a perspective of who's allowed in our country today.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. And there's also, since January of this year, there's no refugees being resettled through the formal process. I think that is slowly changing, with the only population that we have seen starting to show up is people from South Africa. But the traditional refugee resettlement process, it's on pause, and we really don't know what's going to happen. So that's also real.
What y'all are doing is so important. At least around 200 girls every year. Is that right?
Yes.
And you have some statistics about these girls, which I think are really remarkable.
And those outcomes keep showing up year after year. For 8 years straight, 100% of our girls who go through the 4W curriculum graduate from high school. And this is huge. And let me tell you why, Stephanie. On average, our girls, when they come to GirlForward, have on average 2 years of formal education. And then they are put into US high school, which is massive, sometimes 2,000 kids. So there's not small feat of like getting them to graduation. And the other piece is, in comparison to youth who has been resettled in the US, only 60% of that youth graduates from high school. And our girls, through intentional programs, they are just really finding their footing and finding their way. And then not only graduating, but also 85% of them continue to post-secondary education. So in their last year, they really work really hard on college applications. And the last 2 years, they work with our tutors and their mentors and our staff on preparing for their SATs. And this is all while still even emerging in English as a new language to them. So our girls are strong, are smart, and very resilient.
That's remarkable. And hopefully building leaders in government and decision-making and the corporate world, but be leaders in this country to help make decisions for girls in the future, because it's amazing. I'm sure you see the obstacles they face and what they're overcoming.
Yes. And I will say that they are doing that right even now. I want to mention we have 2 youth-led initiatives, and one of them is the Youth Advisory Board. I meet with these girls for a whole year. They guide strategy on programs. They get their voice at the table, what they want, what they need, what they want to see more, what things they want to learn more. They do training, and they'll complete their year of service with a service learning project. Because we know they're not empty vessels. They have so much to give. So they always give something back to the community. Girls in our Youth Advisory Board give something back. They finish with a service. The same is for our summer camp program. After 4 weeks, the girls get a service. And like this summer camp, they ended at the Austin Public Library, leading some sessions for families and children there. So I think they are already becoming those leaders, right, in those spaces. And I just think that is wonderful. And beyond those numbers and those statistics, girls girls are thriving in their self-esteem, in their confidence, in their identity and who they are, and having these hopes and dreams for the future or what they want to be, who are they becoming. And beyond all these numbers, it is at the core these relationships that I mentioned before that last a lifetime. And we're better because of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm sure so many maybe people who show up, I assume that they are very passionate about girls and women and building those leadership qualities. And I just love to hear all that. It reminds me a little bit of how I feel with talking with Johanna from Con Mi Madre.
Yes, I love Johanna. Yes, we did a lot of work together. She was part of my Leadership Austin class, like Courtney. And so it's a lot of work to do for women and girls in Central Texas. I don't know this data point, but nationally, around 3.3% of our nonprofits are for girls and women in the U.S., but less than 2% of all funding goes to this. So there's still a lot of work to do and awareness to just communities to do that.
Courtney and I have talked about how women are about to have more money than they've ever had in terms of assets under their belt in America, because, of course, women are showing up and working more than past generations, are living a single life more than past generations. And so hopefully that funding really shifts to these nonprofits that are benefiting girls and women.
Yes, and everyone is doing their piece. I know there's tons of wonderful girl and women nonprofits in Central Texas.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to point this out. So you said over 40 countries. I also read in your impact report over 40 languages. So we're not just talking about Spanish, which is the common language everyone talks about in Texas as being bilingual, is English and Spanish. Over 40 languages: Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Cuba. The countries go on. But that's really incredible. Having to resettle with a different language and some of these girls later in life. How does your program help with that in terms of all the different cultural and language differences?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. So I think one of the things we do is we honor their own journey. Even if they're coming from the same countries, no story is the same, right? No story is the same as some of your friends and peers. The second thing we do is we start with home visits. So we meet their families. We go to their home. We learn their culture. We don't want to be an organization that feels like we are taking their girls from their culture and their families, right? We are an additional relationship that will help them develop. So we honor that. Our mentors go to the home. And now we are in this space that we are old enough that we have a lot of girls graduated and they're alumni that come and work part-time or in contract time with us. So we pay this former alumni and they are our interpreters. And then again, it's not just the language, but it's the culture. I think there's a gentle way of doing that in equal partnership and not in power over, but power with. And GirlForward is really mindful about that. There are many spaces where the girls celebrate their own culture and their language. We are English forward because that's what the SAT is going to ask you to do. That's what a job interview is going to look like. That's the reality. So we're English forward, but not only English. So not forgetting about those things. So girls sometimes on events like they speak their own language in a poem or they write and publish that on our magazine, which is called Seen, Girls Like Us. So there's opportunities to honor that same unique journey that they have.
And I like that you did mention that GirlForward publishes their work. Is that right?
Yes, we do. We're on our 8th Seen every year. Girls submit art, poetry, photography, and then they also apply to be part of the editorial board. So with the communications department, they design cover to cover that magazine. They give that the title, this year's Nurture.
And it's an annual
annual magazine. And we publish and we have funds to print that out. So some of those copies are sold. And once everything is sold, you're able to see that on our website. You see the previous scenes that were published. But that's also another way, again, their voice is being put in something. It's not something that is forgotten. It's something that you can tangibly have and then share. And also all the skills that I've just mentioned are things that girls put on their resume when they're looking for a job, when they're applying to college. So there's things that they can prove that they're doing while they are with us at GirlForward.
Well, as having high schoolers, we know how important that is. Everything is about, can we put that on a resume or an application?
Absolutely.
It's the reality. Okay, that's fantastic. So I want listeners to hear some stories that will connect them with GirlForward. Do you have a few stories to share?
Yes, there's so many. I always struggle with this. But recently we have our biggest graduation class. So that means like a lot of girls this year graduated with GirlForward. We have 40 girls graduate this year from high school and then again going to college. And one of them, she was a McCallum student. And then she came from Afghanistan to when this whole persecution of the Taliban of women not being part of education. She came with her family. And what it really means, I want people to know that what it really means for migration, for girls and their families and their parents and their siblings, what the US means is safety. It means opportunity to go to school, to make a better life, to bring the skills that you have been received to share with others. She went through high school. She had a mentor. She quickly learned English. Our girls have 4 years to do that. And sometimes their education takes even a back seat when they are here, right? Because they are a little bit older, so they might be able to take care of younger siblings. But with GirlForward, there's the conversations, this is your education. And I know that's what their parents also want for them. So she graduated and she was accepted to 2 universities, and she's now in Texas State. And she wants to pursue a career in math and engineering.
That's incredible. And she came from Afghanistan?
Yes.
And what age did she come over?
She came at 15.
Oh my goodness.
She came at 15. So that's the thing. Girls and teenage girls is a vulnerable space and time for you to be, right? There's a lot of things happening in your development, your identity, you're still changing. And then when you offer the safe spaces, this mentoring, this one-on-one positive developmental relationships, when it's within the context of your cultural family and your values, there's just thriving. There's only thriving. I cannot wait to see what she does. She was actually featured in the McCallum website. If you go look for her, there's a cross post of Diva and
when did she just graduated?
She just graduated.
Oh, congratulations to her.
Yes.
That's very exciting. And it's very exciting for you and GirlForward, because that shows that your work is really paying off and the incredible girls are becoming women and graduating from your program and school. And
going to change the world. And I'll just say another girl that came from GirlForward is now like on this billboard for ACC, but Ragad came also very young. And now she's a little bit older. So she has been volunteering and working part-time with GirlForward. But she's at ACC and she's completing her 2 years with ACC. But she is such a leader. She was part of this micro loans for ACC students that she steered with others so that students can stay at ACC. And she was part of that student coalition and work that they did fundraising for this. And she's now on this billboard for ACC. And that is one GirlForward girl. These are just 2 stories, right? But there's so many stories when you think about 200 girls every year and their lives, how they're impacted and how they are impacting back and giving back to their communities and to us. So
I love that. That's the definition of changing the world. The microloans, that's huge. I went to ACC and I love ACC. I also went to University of Texas through ACC. And when anyone asks me, I probably shouldn't say this, but when anyone asks me if I've donated recently as a UT alum, I'm like, I'm more likely to donate to ACC just because I love where it took me. It's an incredible resource.
And I guess the thing, like our girls then see Ragad there and Ragad welcomes and does tours at ACC. So then it just all of a sudden, those things are becoming a possibility, right? Ragad is in the billboard. Oh my gosh, I can do that too. Diva's going to college. I can do that too. So it's through those examples too that our girls are even transforming, and becoming mentors of these younger girls.
Right. That's why representation matters so much, is that you get to see yourself accomplishing things and others. Yes, I love that. I do make everyone share a good brag so that we can have others go around talking about all the work that they've been doing and good brag about GirlForward. Is there anything that you've done recently that you're proud of?
That was always really hard for me to think. But I think for me, think about GirlForward is always the youth advisory board, those relationships. Sometimes when you're an executive director, and we're a small organization, right? We're 8 people on staff. It's just harder to make those relationships with the community that you're serving. The advisory board represents that connection, not being too far away from strategy and planning and visioning, but just remaining close to the girls and the joy and their dreams. So just closing that with them, we were able this year to get them together with the board, with the actual board. So in 2 cities, we have dinner. So the girls in Chicago met with the board in Chicago, and then the girls here met with the board here. To me, just making that happen, it's again a little bit of older women, but women that are on a board also advising mission and strategy. And now the girls are here. And it's part of that pipeline to become part of a other boards, not even just GirlForward board, but how our girls can be then given advice and strategy to other boards and nonprofits in Austin or in Central Texas, wherever college takes them. So I think that made me feel really good. And I think that's something that I want to do more of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. You're giving your time and your resources for these girls to help mentor them and help kind of show them the road, while also giving them access, right, to the board, which is fantastic. I'm sure you get so much out of it.
I cannot separate. I always think like, if what I would do if I wouldn't be doing this. And the answer is, I don't think I can do anything else. I think I've been just called to be in this crossroads in this moment, to be part of this. And that's what I model to the girls too. When I was a kid, I thought adults have that all figured out. And now as an adult, I'm like, we don't. We actually don't.
No, we're close. I tell my children all the time, I said, you can hear me, but I'm not always right. I want them to think of me as, someone they can trust, but may be wrong.
And I think that's what I want to model to them. And also to my daughters, right? It's just, there's always room for growth. There's always room for learning. And the worst that can happen for you is that you just freeze, because there's so much to do. And in serving others, you learn something about yourself. I just want to show the girls, sometimes, I don't know, girls, we're going to find this place together, and I'm walking with them, trying to figure out where this place is. That builds that community, and more so like that intergenerational support. And I think women intergenerational, it's kind of like, I went this road so that you go this next one. And I make mistakes, and hopefully your mistakes are not the same that I did, right? Hopefully are yours to own and learn from that. But how we're modeling that to generations that come after us, I think is super, super important.
And that's the beauty of community that Courtney and I have discussed in the past about hyper-individualism in America, and that maybe we need to lean into each other a little bit more. And I love that intergenerational, that's what's missing sometimes in our communities. Talking about serving others, how can listeners serve GirlForward?
Well, there's many, many ways. I mentioned we are 8 people on staff, but every year we have 100 volunteers serve. And I honestly say that every time you feel despair, I always look at our volunteers, at the women showing up, and then there's so much goodness in the world. There's so much kindness still to hold on to that. So there's always opportunities to be a volunteer. We're still looking for women mentor in Central Texas and Austin who want to be matched with one of our amazing girls. There's more information on the website, but I can just leave that with you too.
So women that feel like you're in a good position, maybe you're in your career at this point, is that right?
Young adults too, like if not in college, but maybe graduated from college, and that you can offer 6 hours every month. And that looks very different for everyone, and a commitment for 1 year, at least 1 year. I will say a lot of relationships stay 3-4 years and then forever, but at least 1 year.
So that's not hard. So 6 hours a month, commitment for 1 year to be a mentor of one girl.
One girl.
Forward. Okay.
Yes. There's other opportunities. We have tutors opportunities that can be remote. We always need drivers. So maybe if you have 1 hour and you want to just drive girls to an event or to school and back, when we have after school programming. So we need people to help us with transportation, because that really is a barrier. For girls get transportation, they're there.
Well, especially in Texas. Texas does not have great public transportation compared to when I was in the Bay Area. It's a stark contrast. Having a car is so important, and not everyone has a car and can drive.
No, and our families, if they have a car, is for work, not for private. Right. So if anyone wants to volunteer that'll be amazing. We also have wish lists of things on our website, so things that they can donate, school supplies, period products, hygiene items, things that we bring to our safe spaces to the girls. That's always welcome. We always are looking for monthly donors. And I'll tell you that some of our monthly donors are young, and they give probably $20 every month. But for them, it's like, I'm not going to get this coffee, this month, and I'm going to donate it to a cause. And I think that young philanthropists are emerging, fully aware. They're more connected with social issues, and they also have this global mindset. So I think that there's opportunities. There's no small amount, and that supports our girls, right? Around $300 a month keeps a girl in our programs. So there's always that gift of money and talent too in other ways. So if there's skills that you want to give to us, we're always looking for those spaces, or if you are an intern and need your internship service for a semester, we take interns as well to build our capacity, program managers, so that's a possibility too. Those are like a few of the many things that people can always do. And in a personal level, always advocate for the immigrant community, especially during these times. Check on your neighbors. A lot of people are not going out probably to groceries or walking their kids to school. So if that's something that you can show up and be there, I think it's important times to just show that kindness. Even if it's not GirlForward, show kindness to other people that are making their life new in a new country.
If listeners, which if you're this far into the episode, you probably care about girls and women and immigrants and people who are seeking asylum. Again, those reoccurring donations, every nonprofit I talk to, just the smallest, like you said, a coffee a month, set it and forget it. So please show up in those ways. There's also, I think, Gratitude Night. Did you want to speak to that?
That is a beautiful event. So it's not a fundraiser event, but GirlForward has this tradition of gratitude and joy. It's part of being young. We're having one coming up November 12th. So if anyone's interested, send us an email. My email is johanna@girlforward.org, and I can let you know when is that happening. But this event is community gathering. It's about the collective. It's about, despite what's happening or what's going on in your personal life, we can gather together to be grateful. And when you do it in a community space, we have little, finger foods. Some of the girls are there, and some of the girls might be performing some of their poems that were published on the scene. There's like a space to be grateful. And I think this is a very beautiful thing that we do. And we do it in both cities in the month of November. So we gather girls, board, donors, partners, and we just do a gratitude night.
I love that. So November 12th. And to your point, the community. So my husband, just with all the news going on recently, it's been very negative, especially in recent weeks. And my husband finally took his Facebook, his Twitter, he took it all off of his phone. And I think if more people just unplugged from the social media that's supposed to be, quote unquote, connecting us, and get out, go and do things in your community, show up to Gratitude Night, show up for those people around you, especially the youth. I think that's a fantastic place to be. So thanks for sharing.
Yes. And I think my deepest wish really is that more people can see our girls through the lens of who they are and what they are becoming, and not through the lens of what they went through. Because every time I see them in spaces and I'm with them, they bring so much. They bring their culture forward, their hopes forward, their strengths forward, their ideas forward, their joy forward. And I just think that is exactly the future that represent everyone, like that hope and those dreams. And I do believe that at GirlForward, we hold at the core this value that every girl, regardless of their immigration status, deserves the right to make a life in her own terms and dreams of her own making, whatever those are. So I just invite anyone who's listening to us, just think about that. And that is already just giving a lot to us and to our mission and to every girl in every space where we are. So standing with them and with our girls, it really standing with possibility and with hope.
That's beautiful, Jo. I can tell that you're not supposed to be anywhere but where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Oh, those girls are so lucky to have you, and the organization's so lucky to have you. Thanks so much, Jo. This was great.
Thank you so much for the time.
Johanna closed our conversation with something that's been ringing in my ears since then. Her deepest wish is that people would see GirlForward's girls not through the lens of what they've been through, but through who they are and who they are becoming, their hopes, their strengths, and their joy. That is the future GirlForward is building, and it's one we should all want to get behind. If you want to support their mission, here's how to show up. You can mentor. They need women mentors here in Austin, 6 hours a month for at least a year, walking alongside one girl in the program. Many of these relationships last well beyond that. You can also volunteer, tutor remotely, help with after-school transportation, or lend a hand with events. Even driving girls to and from programs can be a game changer in a city where public transit is limited. 3, donate. Every dollar counts. Monthly giving, even $20 a month, keeps girls in programs and creates stability. Around $300 a month fully supports one girl, but coffee money donations are just as impactful when they are reoccurring. Set it and forget it. And remember, wish list and skills. From school supplies and hygiene products to sharing your professional skills, there are practical ways to strengthen their work. Also, advocate. One of the most powerful ways to help is to stand up for immigrant and refugee families in your everyday life. Check on neighbors, extend kindness, and use your voice. Lastly, remember to show up for Gratitude Night on November 12th. Join GirlForward for a community gathering full of gratitude, food, and even poetry from the girls themselves. This isn't a fundraiser. It is about building connection and celebrating joy. Learn more and get involved at girlforward.org. And a huge thank you to Johanna for bringing such passion and perspective, and to the staff, volunteers, and mentors who show up every day for these girls. Thank you to the Texas Stars Foundation for supporting Escape into a Cause and helping us celebrate the people who give back. If you want Texas Stars hockey tickets yourself, you show up for a nonprofit, you can share it and tag us at Escape into a Cause or DM us, or sign up at escapeintoacause.com and get matched with a nonprofit that matters to you. You will be entered to win. And thank you, Nightlight Insurance Agency, for presenting Escape into a Cause. And thank you, as always, to Todd Thompson for editing and mixing, Corey McCain at Just Push Record Studios, and Ashlyn O'Neill for digital content. Next week, we are escaping into LifeWorks, an organization tackling youth homelessness with housing, education, and counseling programs to help young people find stability and independence. It is a powerful conversation you will not want to miss. And I hope you join me next week as we escape into a cause.